My name is Christian Rausch, and I was the director and one of the writers of CYBERTRON Falls, Till All Are One, as well as the other films. CYBERTRON Falls really gets its start back when I was a child, and honestly, it was the original 2007 Transformers film that was the biggest inspiration for me. Just as a filmmaker in general, it's what really got me interested in becoming a visual effects artist and becoming a director, and from there is when I really became just passionate about filmmaking in general.
I first found out about this project from a casting call posted online back in 2020. I auditioned immediately and was lucky enough to be given the part.
Ultra Magnus, my friend, it's good to see you.
So I had actually heard about CYBERTRON Falls a few years back. I just didn't think I'd get the opportunity to join the production until my friend Monseiur Leonard Jr., he pointed me towards the casting call for Till All Are One and was like, hey, they actually have spots for RC and I think Elita. You should go for it. And I was like, oh, awesome. This is a chance to see if I could actually get in on this project.
Hello, RC. Pleasure to meet you.
Cap. So, I've been involved since 2020 during the production of The War Within. I'd seen the previous movie, which was the first in the trilogy, and I was just so impressed by the visuals, the story, the characters, this gritty take on the Cybertronian Civil War. So I decided to reach out to Christian on Instagram and ask, could I send a demo? And it just so happened that the casting call for The War Within was happening at the time. So I auditioned for a few characters and I came away with Cop. And here I am now, 2 movies later.
We have a mission to do, right, Magnus? Cybertron itself is on the line here. And so, we gotta do what we gotta do.
So I first heard about CYBERTRON Falls, period, when me and Martinni were doing our second episode for our podcast called Seekers in Crime. At that time, War Within was just coming out. So Martinni had the idea to have him on the podcast as a guest, and it went really well. And afterward, Christian talked to us, and he said he wanted us on the third movie.
Huh. Gasket breath over here couldn't hurt a minicon.
Slug just jealous because he transforms into big lumbering beast. Big lumbering beast. Big and ugly, not beautiful, like Swoop.
Hi, my name is Martinni Roa, and I am the voice actor for Swoop and, well, technically, Devastator. It was a very cool experience, and I remember when Christian said that I was officially cast as Swoop, and to enter this weird dimension of Transformers Till All Are One voice actors, it was pretty awesome. I have to admit, it was pretty awesome.
How I found out about the project, specifically this production, my good friend Samuel had actually told me about it. He understood that I was a huge fan of the trilogy, so when he told me that he was working on the sound effects, I was very intrigued, actually. Me and Christian hopped into a call eventually. I read off of RC's lines, actually, because originally I was auditioning for RC. So when I didn't make the cut for RC, the lovely Max did, which, honestly, her voice fits a lot better. He told me that there was another fembot available, which was Elita-1, that he was looking for an actress. So I read off of her lines, and he loved it. He loved the delivery. There was a few takes, obviously, but I think it went well. Now that the film is out, I can promptly say I really wish I did those a little bit better.
I would say it's been an amazingly collaborative effort between the entire cast and crew. It was wonderful working with just everyone. I really tried getting their feedback from all the actors in terms of what they wanted to bring to their character, no matter how big the role was or small. It was really important to me that I was collaborating with all the actors in that sense, where they brought something of themselves to the role.
No, it can't be.
Optimus Prime is such an iconic character. I think anybody can be a fan of him. He's very widely appealing to fans and non-fans of Transformers alike. I think anybody can find something to like with Optimus Prime. He's a very timeless character, and I think that what's very appealing about him, besides the fact that he's a badass giant robot, what I think has really kept him relevant and relatable and iconic for 40 plus years is the fact that he has a lot of humility. He's this character that is so much more human than he can possibly understand. He has emotions, he has these feelings, and you don't often see it with this character. And I think we really wanted to bring that emotion and those quality traits of Optimus to the forefront of him in this film.
Autobots, Decepticons, charge for Cybertron!
Peter Cullen is my biggest inspiration of all time. Whether I play this character or not, I have always deeply admired Peter. I don't believe I would be a voice actor today without him. I have viewed so much of his body of work, and I have just been so inspired by him as a person, by the stories he's told about his journey as Optimus, about where that character really came from. At every convention Peter attends, he tells this story. When he was first going in for the audition of Optimus Prime, he had a talk with his brother, the great late Colonel Larry Cullen, about how he was going in to audition to be a hero truck. And his brother told him, Peter, if you're going to be a hero, be a real hero. Don't be like those fake Hollywood generals. Don't be screaming and barking orders. Be strong enough to be gentle. Know to have humility. Be generous. Be kind. Tell the truth. And be honest.
This is not our end, Autobots, but the dawn of our new beginning. And so I ask you, in our final hour, to continue to fight. I ask you for one final time to stand with me.
I think my biggest inspiration when it comes to acting right now, and certainly for this project specifically, is Haley Steinfeld. I think she's a phenomenal actress, and she's one of those bigger names that can transition really well between live action and voice acting. I really love her performances for animated properties. I loved her in Arcane, Spider-Verse, all that. I don't know, even for animated projects, she's able to bring a sort of groundedness to her performance that still works for the medium of animation. And it's something that I really do my best to try to grab from, emulate a little bit, put my own spin on it, obviously, but yeah.
Primus Earth really made you soft, huh? Come on, perk up, soldier. We're here.
So when it comes to preparing for the role, I like to do a few things. First, I like to see the script, see my lines, my scenes, anything I can take from it, and I will write down everything about the character that I need to know. Core memories, personality traits, any little mannerisms I can pick up from the script itself to just give me as much info as I can to play the role. I also like to see the character too. I like to see the model of the character just so I can see what I can do, how I can change my voice and put that voice inside this character.
They're so strange.
I like them. I think they're funny.
I think one of the most important things as a voice actor is delivery. Like when you're reading a script, you don't want to just look at just your lines and that's it. You'll want to have a look, if not the whole script, just have a look at, the scene. Read the other lines from the characters and, the descriptions of what's happening, because you need to know the tone of the scene and what's happening and what your character's feeling. Because if you don't know some of those things, it can be harder to deliver lines properly.
So, what it takes to do my part as a voice actor, or what I do to prepare for roles and stuff like that, is that I usually try to take, first of all, the description of the character itself. You know, how the character behaves, his personality, stuff like that is things that I take into account when I'm trying to create a voice for a character. That's first of all, and second of all is design. I can come up with a voice that works for the personality of the character, but if it doesn't work for the design, then it really doesn't work, you know what I mean? So that's kind of what I tried to do. I tried to pull some Swoop references whenever I could. I obviously had the screech in there, you know, the which were things that Christian, I tried to weave past him and tried to include in the film, because initially Swoop just talked, and you know, we got kind of the pterodactyl scream in there. But yeah, I just try to have fun, you know, I try to improvise, make weird voices. If Christian says higher pitched, I try to go higher pitch. If Christian says lower pitch, I try to go lower pitch.
Slug gasket breath. Let Swoop show you how it's done.
I've been following the name brand company since the first trailer for the first film dropped. That trailer was already dropped by the time that I found the channel. That's actually how I found it. I watched the trailer. It blew my mind on how well this was. For, at the time, probably a small production team. Fantastic. I loved it. So I instantly hit subscribe right then and there because I'm wanting to see where this goes. So as soon as the first film dropped, I immediately started watching it. And that was probably the hype of my high school year.
I'd heard about the series years ago. And I heard a lot of really interesting things, really exciting things. So when Christian messaged me and asked if I'd come in on number 3 and bring something a bit fresh to the series, I was really interested. And then he sent me the script and I was blown away. It felt like the exact movie I'd been dreaming of since I was a little kid. The mythology, the characters, the story, the scale of it. It just felt like something I'd never done before but had always wanted to do, and it was so exciting.
The most satisfying thing when writing this final piece was really just seeing it all come to fruition. I've had this story in mind since about 2019 to 2020 of this final film and how it would play out, and I think just all the story payoffs that we did, from Megatron / Galvatron's redemption to Optimus Prime and Megatron's friendship to all the different fan servicey things that we have throughout the film that really, I think, pay off in a big way, especially if you've been following the series from the beginning. The biggest moment that was really for me was seeing Unicron finally transform just in this style and this way is kind of the way I've been seeing it from the beginning. I think just seeing the robot mode really come to fruition.
Hello, my name is Drekius, and I am responsible for many of the heavy sequences that involve Unicron in CYBERTRON Falls till all are one. I first heard about the production upon looking for Transformers fan projects to lend my talent and skill to that were in progress, and I found Till All Are One through Chris's channel, and seeing that it was still in production, I decided to see if they would have me on the team. Unicron has always been one of my biggest obsessions when it comes to the Transformer characters. And of course, with Unicron being involved in the production, I of course couldn't help myself but want to be a part of it. Working on the transformation sequence, being the heaviest sequence in the film, took many months to do. It really was a massive undertaking for me. I hope that when people watch the film and see these sequences play out, that they fully understand the complexity that goes into this kind of stuff.
When they first pitched that idea to me, they showed me the animatic of it being this entire one-shot, and I told them that I don't think we're going to be able to do that. It just seemed too big and too complex. I thought in order to pull off the scale of Unicron, it would have to be done in multiple shots, and they told me that they think they could pull it off in a way that would feel grand and have that scale we were looking for, while also being all one continuous take. And when they started showing me the early CGI work for it, I was absolutely blown away by what Drakius was able to pull off, and it was then that I knew that we could pull this off.
I heard about Till All Are One from watching the first two movies from the name brand company. When I watched the first two, I had reached out to see if I can be involved in any way, and Name Brand also reached out to me, so we got together and I was able to join the Discord server, and the rest is history from there. Basically what goes into animating is you getting references and storyboard type footage helps a lot, and from there on I can animate based on what the director wants. In this case, Christian, Name Brand Company, he wanted me to use some reference footage for the two fights that I animated. They're not entirely one-to-one, it's more to use them as like references, sort of like a guideline storyboard, so we know where it begins and how it's going to end. But for a lot of it, I actually improvised and did a little bit of my own here and there, added some more of my flair and style into the animation. And to prepare for animation, basically I just need the 3D models and then a rig for them so that I can actually move them around. And depending on what kind of rig it is can depend on the type of movements they can do. In this case, they mostly had human movements. It was a very simple, basic human rig, and so I kind of just moved them around based on the reference footage as best as I could.
I think ultimately being a VFX artist really played its hand in the writing process, because I was able to craft sequences around my knowledge of visual effects. A lot of the sequences that you see in CYBERTRON Falls, Till All Are One, are of the result of years of me just learning different tips and tricks along the way.
I was invested in the first two movies at first, until the Name Brand Company DM'd me about commissions. He wanted some character models for background characters, and gave me a list, so I fulfilled that list.
Okay, hey there, my name is Elio, aka Slinkblade, and I'm creative for Omega Supreme and Metroplex. After watching the very first movie of CYBERTRON Falls, I was quickly hooked in. I followed the series since then, and I even managed to meet Chris himself, having the pleasure to work with him in other projects. After getting to know Chris, I ended up asking him if there was a spot for me for the production of the latest installment, Till All Are One, which I was granted, getting the task of modeling two of the biggest bots in the series, Metroplex and Omega Supreme. Designing was actually pretty fun. Like, starting with Omega, for his design I did debate for a couple of days on how to approach his design, studying the many interactions of the character, and then it clicked. For Omega Supreme's design, for Till All Are One, I combined Local's movie design with Omega Supreme's game model. The modeling phase, to no surprise, was the most challenging part, because this guy was gonna be big, potentially having shot up close, so detailing was key. At first, it started as a long haul model, later with the dorsal being repurposed for Omega. For the arms, there's one thing in common with every Omega Supreme design. One hand is a claw, the other is a zapper. Here, I based them off his game model and his G1 counterpart, with the idea that they would be able to combine into a rocket ship. So for his claw hand, I added thrusters, while his other arm had the flaps. Designing the head was quite interesting. I wanted to mix the best of both worlds between G1 and the game, and the result was his iconic head with a live-action touch, including his visor, rebreather, and a tank barrel ponytail, because it's mandatory. As for the legs and his wings, it was the easiest part to figure out. Just live-action G1 in all its greatness. Combining all these factors, it's a model that turned out nice in my opinion. Turning to Metroplex and oh my god. This guy has officially won the gold medal for the heaviest model that I have ever done in my life. Like seriously, this guy is massive. For Metroplex, I went with a different approach. Just take all iterations, shove them into the blender and mix them well. Chris had a special request for him. He must have an ancient vibe to him. So I went ahead and started with concepts, going so far as to consider Terracon levels of damage for the big guy. His design is pretty much a live-action version of his G1 counterpart, however, an asymmetry to it, with some hastily built on structures on one shoulder and old and broken trusses on the other, with various hydraulic systems added to helping keeping his arms up. For the legs, I decided to make them a bit more complete, since they needed more bulk to sustain its massive weight. For that cheeky G1 flair, I decided to inspire myself off his Combat Wars figure, design these shins and feet to resemble somewhat ramps. Of course, him being part of Cybertron's planetary defense, I had to add weapons, like hard mount cannons and mismatched places for the shoulders. Heck, I even added boosters on his legs to prevent case he needed to move. Since this was my first time actually modeling a Titan Transformer, this guy took me 4 whole months to complete.
So all the films really, I wouldn't say take or twist war film beats on their head as much as they do play with war film tropes. So when we were first writing CYBERTRON Falls, we looked at all of the archetypes that you find in a typical war film. You know, you have the hard on the character sergeant, you have the young recruit who's a little bit in over his head, you have the leader of the group that everyone kind of looks up to, and these were all tropes from different war films that we decided to pull from in order to tell a new version of a familiar story to a lot of Transformers fans. So a lot of the character deaths throughout the films were really done sort of for a multitude of different reasons. In the first film, a lot of it was for the shock value of we had the setup for basically a similar setup to the G1 cartoon of Bumblebee and Wheeljack, and with that setup you kind of expect all these characters to make it out of the situation, and when it doesn't, that's where the suspense really settles in for the audience, I feel. The idea of killing off Bumblebee really came when we were planning the entire series after the release of the first film. We had a lot of talks on where we wanted to go with the series, and the initial idea was that Bumblebee would probably live on to become this sort of main character hero archetype that you would probably expect from him being the main character of the first film. And then once the story kind of broadens out, we decided that it would be a good time to kill him off and then throw the audience for a loop that way.
Kid! Open up, Cup, I think I was shot.
And then until all are one, Optimus and Megatron sacrificing themselves was really the ultimate catharsis of the entire story. It's what the entire story's been building up to, is that those two laying down their lives for the betterment of Cybertron and everyone.
We had a pretty good run. Hey, Prime. Yeah. Yeah, that's one way to put it. I'm so sorry, Optimus. Megatron. None of that matters now. You are my friend.
How do you score a film? Well, you gotta really understand the story that you're telling. So you're asking hundreds of questions. You know, why does this character do this? Why do they behave this way? What do they believe in? How does what they do here affect what's going to happen over here? And really understanding what the director wants to say with it. What's the story that they're telling? And then when you believe in that story, when you really feel it and you feel it in your heart, then you start coming up with ideas and musical representations of that story. And then when you've got those, then you have to start figuring out, how do I make these musical ideas fit what's happening on screen? And then you try your best, and then the release date comes, and whatever's there is there.
Cybertron Falls to Lawler 1 is a big passion project for, you know, especially Christian, but, you know, everyone involved is passionate about, you know, Transformers. I was at TFCon Toronto, because I was one of the people on the panel, along with Christian and Clayton, who voices Megatron and Unicron and some other characters. And he was stressed, you know, but then sitting in the crowd and hearing people laugh at some of the jokes and hearing the applause, you know, I think that kind of reassured him.
Ultimately, I hope people can see what you can do with a film with just a little bit of passion and a little bit of motivation. There's so many avenues to create a film now, completely for free, and I think Blender has really been a game changer for independent artists, and I think a lot of people don't really know yet just what Blender can do. And I've gotten messages from people saying, hey, I always wanted to get into 3D stuff, but what really pushed me to it was seeing your work and seeing what was possible with Blender, and it really pushed me to want to give it a shot and give my own try at it. And I think that's just really what I hope people get out of this final film.
I really hope that the Optimus Prime that we present on screen in this film can be one that Peter would be proud of.
What I really hope people get out of Cybertron Falls to Lawler 1, above all else, is the motivation and the encouragement to work on their own passion projects. Because, you know, Christian didn't start things off here. This is the final film of an entire trilogy that he's been working on for years. And, you know, he put in a lot of time and effort to get things to this point, and he's got a lot to show for it.
I just really hope that people can just sit back, watch this trilogy, and just get lost in this world that Christian's created over these 3 movies, over 5 years. And I hope that people can just look at this and think, do you know what? I'm gonna make something. I'm gonna write something. Do you know what? There's a role I want to audition for. I'm gonna audition for that because I loved this character and this, and I'd like to play something like that.
I hope for people to get a fun time out of Cybertron Falls to Lawler 1. I hope for them to, you know, just look at this project that just exudes passion. You know, there was a lot of work put into making this whole little trilogy tie up nicely, clean up nicely, clean up neatly as well. I know that Christian has been working with this for such a long time, and you can clearly tell there's a lot of passion behind every model, behind every frame. And there's creativity in it as well. There's a lot of it. There's a lot of breaking the mold. There's a lot of, taking what we have, and seeing what we can do with the resources that we have. And I think that speaks very well of Christian. I think that speaks very well of his spirit, of his drive, of his passion. And that's essentially what I hope people can get out of this film. Just a fun time, just a fun Transformers time.
This film, in a lot of ways, is a love letter to just Transformers in general, and I think it's a testament to what fans can do when they come together.
Really, I just hope people have a great time watching it. I mean, I spent a little over a year on it, Christian spent more than 6 years on it, but I think everyone involved has been dreaming about this movie since we were little kids. So all of that passion, all of that excitement, I think every one of us put all of that into everything that we did. So really, I just hope that the people watching it can feel that passion and excitement, and I hope that they have a good time.
Thank you so much for watching this behind the scenes of Cybertron Falls Till All Are One. Really quickly, I just wanted to take a second to thank a couple of people who didn't really get mentioned in the behind the scenes, and that is Jed Vargo of HiddenToys.net and Samuel J. Flatman of TFI Creations. These are wonderful individuals who were pivotal in helping me write this entire series from the beginning, so please go check them out and support them if you haven't. And if you would like to support the channel, you can do so by subscribing to our Patreon. For just $5 a month, you can get access to all sorts of 3D models, 3D assets, all of our content ad-free, and it's just a great way to support the channel. We're really trying to grow this more and more so that way we can take this more seriously, and get you guys more content. So go ahead and support the channel, and thank you guys so much for watching. Bye-bye.